This is The Kramer Show. Unleashed. Real and raw talk. No rules, no management, no bullshit.
All right, since I can't remember if today or tomorrow is the anniversary of the killing of Britney. So I wanted to put a podcast out and talk about that because I get questions a lot about that. What's funny is I think every interview I've ever done in radio since that time, at some point the person will say, so tell me about Britney. In fact, I didn't interview, but I went and had coffee with the operations manager of the Eagle. I want to say like 2 months ago. And I never brought that up. And I was like, I'm going to wait and see if he brings it up. And we just spoke for like an hour and a half. And then eventually he asked. And I told him the deal. So I'm not going to make this some long drawn out deal. And by the way, my apologies. I don't know how you guys want me to deliver content, so if there are 5 of you that give a shit, let me know what would be the easiest way. I'm putting it on Facebook in this video format because that's like the only way really to do it on Facebook. But I don't think Facebook pushes that when you do that. So, I'm trying to find a way to maximize, the exposure of this. And if, if you can share it, that would be great. I'm not getting anything from it. It's not sponsored. I'm just trying to, if I do these, I want people to listen to it. That's all. Okay. So look, I'm going to give you the 100% totally truth, totally real story behind that whole fucking thing. All right, here we go. I don't know. By the way, I'm Kramer from the old Kramer and Twitch show, and I've moved back to Dallas. We moved back 2 years ago. The last year that we were at the Eagle, our ratings every time they came out, they were so through the roof. Okay. Now, Russ Martin was doing mornings. I never had any beef or problems with Russ. People talk about how hard he was to work with. He was always a fine gentleman to me. I never had a beef with him. And he was the morning show, okay? And he was doing well. And I believe, I think, in our demographic, men 25-54, I think we were all number one. I don't think that was ever an issue. But Tony and I, Twitch and I, our ratings were just miles apart from there was not even a close second, man. It was crazy. So they started putting our show on other iHeart radio stations. So here we are. We're sitting in Dallas. We get on in Tampa, we get on in Cleveland, we get on in Cincinnati, we get on in Rochester, New York, we get on in Richmond, Virginia. The list, it just goes on and on. It was like every other week they were telling us that they were putting the show on other stations, and then they hired a producer to help us farm that show out. So we were really riding high. Russ left. And when Russ left, we assumed that they were going to put us on the morning show. That's what we wanted. In radio, that's the prize. That's where the money is. That's where you get the most exposure. So we go to management. And we go in constantly asking about, doing mornings. And we were led to believe that we were at the very top of the list to do the morning show. Okay? So Russ is gone. He went over to 105.3, right? Remember this? So when he left, there was a time period, it was like a grace period, and we kept begging. They finally came to us and said, we're not going to put you in the morning show, but here's what we're going to give you. we're going to send you to San Francisco to be on KSJO in the afternoon. And you will keep all of your affiliates all over the country, and we'll hire a producer there to pipe it out. So we would be on in San Francisco. We would be back on nights in Dallas. You would hear parts of the afternoon show at night on the Eagle from San Francisco. And then it would be on everywhere else. Cleveland, Tampa, Rochester, Richmond. You know, the list goes on and on. They told us what they were going to pay us. And we were like, well, okay. I had mixed feelings about it. Twitch had mixed feelings about it. We got an agent. No, I take that back. We didn't get an agent until later. We move out to California. From the moment we arrived, we both were absolutely miserable. I hated California, the state. I hated San Jose. I hated San Francisco. I hated the people. I did not like anyone at the radio station except for the program director. And our show, being us, it's kind of like, let me try to explain this. It's, you know, I'm from the South. I'm from Alabama. Tony grew up in Florida. We're Southern guys at our heart. And we were these loud, boisterous guys saying, suck our dicks and, you know, waving our fingers in the air. That did not go over in California at all. At all. One day we're on the air. And, well, no, I take that back. One day I'm going into the station. I'm sitting at a red light. All of a sudden, a motorcycle flies through. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Every day I'm going to work. I see motorcycles going down the middle line, you know, to at the red lights. And I'm like, fuck, what is that? So we go on the air that day, and I go, what's the deal around here with everybody breaking the law, man, and going down the middle of the road? Fuck you, just because you ride a motorcycle, it doesn't give you any special privileges. I said, we should open up our car doors and whack a couple of them. That'll keep them from doing it. That was an off the key, off the cuff, minor joke. That's all I said. That quote got sent to every major motorcycle organization in the country. Then it got picked up by one of the TV channels there. And they actually that day came down to interview us and were like, get the fuck out of here. What's going on? Then the next day it got written about in the newspapers, not only in San Jose, but in San Francisco. And then when that happened, it hit the internet and it went all over the world. Now I want you to listen to this. They call us the next day and they say, don't come into the radio station. Keith Cunningham, our program director. And I said, why? And he says, look, I'm going to have to suspend you guys for the comment that you made yesterday. And I said, why? Well, it's legal in California for motorcycles. They call it white lining. It's legal for them to do that. And then you said, open up your doors. And so it's not even really so much about that now. It's more about we have bikers in the parking lot that are setting off smoke bombs and threatening to kill the salespeople. And I said, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And that was not our intention. Our intention with everything we ever did was always to get on the news, because we didn't really have the internet back then like we do now. So you couldn't rely on that. You had to really, put some effort into it. I never in a million years dreamt that comment would lead to, you can look it up now. It's all, it's, all this stuff now. You can still Google it. We got suspended for a week without pay, by the way. So that put a bad taste in our mouth. So they kept coming to us every other day from that point on, bitching about something that we were doing on the show. And I told Tony, I said, they're looking for a way to let us go because they're pissed. And they look at us as a liability now. They don't look at us as an asset. And that's what they're trying to do. Every day in the office, every day, fucking pound. Hated this bit, didn't like that. I don't like the way you said that. You said this word. We don't say titties on the air, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, I think we were there for 5 months. I'm pretty sure it was. And they eventually came to us and said, you're fired, but you still have a job in Dallas. So I was like, fuck yeah. You know what? I don't even care that we have to move again. I was missing Eric, the sports guy, was my best friend. I was missing all my buddies, all the places we went to. I could not have been happier. We get all of our shit, move back to Dallas, have a meeting with management. We went from making $150,000 down to, I'm just being real, down to making $20,000 a piece. And they said, you can take it or leave it. This was the middle of the day. We get on the elevator and we're like, well, what the fuck do we do? Do we just say fuck it and quit? And then what? Or do we go back in, eat shit, try to keep our nose clean, and then try to come up with a plan to, get them to give us more money? So now we've been shit on. We didn't get the morning show at the Eagle. We go out to Cali and we get in trouble for something that was total bullshit. We get fired. We get sent back to Dallas. Now you're going to take away all of this money and you're going to give us $20,000. How can anyone live? You're going to give two guys that are, there's no telling what we were billing. It had to be a couple of $1 million a year just from a night show. And you're going to disgrace us by doing that bullshit. So we went in and did the show a couple of nights. And we were just fucking pissed. And basically all I did was spin records, man. We didn't even really talk. I'm bored. And I say to Tony, I said, I think it's time we get pub. And that was kind of an ongoing joke with he and I, is what that meant was we need to come up with an idea to get our names in the newspaper or on television. We did it constantly. One of the bits, by the way, I get this question a lot lately. Are you guys the ones that did the it's illegal to smoke in your car bit? Yes, that's what we did. One time we announced that there was a local ordinance that was about to pass that said that it was illegal to smoke cigarettes in your cars. And of course it was false, but it got written about in the newspaper. People started protesting. They started marching downtown at the courthouse with signs. One weekend, there was a group of hundreds of people out the entire weekend marching about this law that did not exist. And again, you have to understand that time you didn't have the internet to tell you that it wasn't true, that it was fake, that it was bullshit. You had the internet, but it wasn't like today. It was just a completely different time in tech. That was the kind of deal that we would do, and we'd get our names all over the place. Television, we were constantly in the news. So I said, I think it's about time we get some pub. And we started tossing around ideas. And one of us said, why don't we announce somebody died? And one of us said, let's do Metallica. Actually, I think it was Tony that said Metallica. And then I was like, no, we'll get killed. It can't be anybody in our format. It has to be somebody else. Now, Chaz Knight, who was on the Cindy Skull show, had a picture. He was obsessed with Britney Spears. And right above where I sat to do the show, Chaz had taped a picture of Britney Spears right there. And I said, that's the one. And I pointed. So Tony wrote up a script, supposedly from the Associated Press, announcing that Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake were in an accident. Britney Spears was Britney Spears that died, yeah, and then Justin Timberlake was in a coma. And we made it up. We were somber, and we made this up. So we announced, actually, I want to put a little addendum in there. I called Dwayne Doherty, who was the program director at the time, and I asked Dwayne on the phone specifically if we could do the bit, and he said yes. That is, I don't care what anyone says, me and Tony and Dwayne Doherty are the three people. We know how that went down. Keep in mind, I got permission to do it. So we read the bit. 10 or 15 minutes goes by. In a radio station, back then when everyone was live, you had a hotline. And when the hotline rang, it would flash a big red light. And it was usually the program director trying to get in touch with you personally because they can't call the request line. So I pick it up, and this woman says, Hi, this is Kelsey so-and-so from WW something something in Chicago. And we just got a call that says you were reporting that Britney Spears had died in a coma. Can you confirm or deny that? And I said, hold on. At this point, Eric, our sports guy, I don't remember if Runt was in there. Do you guys remember Runt, Jeff? I put him on hold and I said, holy shit. It's a TV station in Chicago and they want to know. And so we had a discussion about what do we do? The plan was that we got a phone call from our friend in Los Angeles who worked for the fire department, and he's one that called and told us that. Okay? So I got her back on the phone. I told her the deal. I hung the phone up. Immediately started ringing again. Hi, this is Michelle Crumpton. I'm calling from WWW in Miami, Florida, and I just want you to get a quote, blah, blah, blah. All night for hours, that hotline rang. See, the media outlets had our hotline number, so they knew how to get in touch with us. And we started, not only was it like Miami and Chicago and San Antonio and you know, all these places here, it was media outlets in Australia, it was media outlets in Canada, it was media outlets in the UK. And at that point, I was like, oh my God. You know, I didn't really realize what was about to happen. So we go out that night, have a great night, party. We're like, hey, we're going to have pub tomorrow. This will be great. I go home. The next morning, my phone rings, and it's Eric, the sports guy. And he goes, hey, man, I'm on my way to work, and I just passed on the tollway. I just passed the station, and there is a shit ton of media trucks out there with their antennas up. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but has nothing to do with us. All right, man. See ya. All right, bro. See ya. So now I'm up, and it's in the morning. So I get out of bed, and I'm like, I'm going to go run to get breakfast. As I'm trying to remember. Yeah, 105.3 had Stern on. So as I'm driving back, all of a sudden I hear Howard Stern say the words Kramer and Twitch. And I was like, what? And so I turn it up. So now it's Howard and Robin talking about Kramer and Twitch killed Britney in their news segment. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, like, I'm like shaking. I'm like, nobody called me to let me know. And now I'm finding out on my own as I'm driving. Holy mother. What have we done? So now I got my breakfast. I go back home. I sit at the coffee table, and I'm watching CNN. On the bottom of CNN, the scroll, I see our name. Kramer and Twitch, fake death of Britney Spears. Britney Spears management says they're considering a lawsuit. And then the woman says, up next, we'll talk about the prank that Kramer and Twitch, two radio hosts, did, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I got my hands up in my face. I'm like, oh my God, what is next? So it was like this nuclear explosion, and it went on for like 3 days, man. I mean, it was all anyone could talk about. My mom called me at some point, and she goes, what did you guys do? And I go, why? And she goes, well, I was at the grocery store, and I'm looking for a magazine, and then I see your name on the front cover of a Britney Spears magazine. I was like, what? She said the caption says your name on the magazine. My mom lives in Alabama. She found out about it on the cover of a magazine. That's how nuts it was. They don't, at this point, management has no idea what to do. They suspended us without pay. Not that they were paying us anyway, for a week. At this point, we're suspended. So we start going out, at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We get Eric and our whole crew, and we go out like we always do. And we'd be sitting in a bar, and my cell phone got posted on a radio website. So my phone started blowing up. At that time, we got an agent, Norm Schrut. Norm used to be the president of CBS Radio. He retired. but he took on a couple of people as clients, radio people, to be their agent. And so when we signed on with him, right at that moment, he said, under no circumstance will you give one single interview. If somebody calls you wanting an interview, you tell them to contact my office or they can fax this number, period. I'm telling you, if you don't obey that, I'm out and I'm not going to do it. So we'd be sitting in a bar and the BBC would call. Miami would call. Fucking whatever TV station in Australia would call, wanting interviews. Every radio station, the Howard Stern Show, every single radio station, every single show, all night, my phone would ring, and eventually would just turn it off because I couldn't give anybody interviews. People would get so pissed off if I answered the phone, and I told them no. They would start screaming, like, what, it was just a bizarro world. So we did get calls from radio stations all over the country. And one night, this guy calls me, and his name was Steve Sinacropi. And he goes, look, I'm the general manager of WKRK in Detroit. Right now, there's going to be very few people that are going to give you a shot. And by the way, this was CBS Radio. And he goes, because you're dangerous and you may get a lot of feelers. I'm not feeling you out. I'm calling because I want you to come here. And he said, can I fly you in? I want to fly you in tomorrow. Tomorrow? I said, look, Steve, I'm in a bar. We're hammered. It's 11 o'clock at night. The chances of us getting on a plane, just to be clear and be honest, probably close to zero. He said, that's okay. Me and Terry, the program director, will fly in. We're going to have lunch with you guys. Bring a CD of some of your shit, and let's do it. These motherfuckers got on a plane the next morning, flew to Dallas, took us out to lunch, told us what kind of salary they were going to give us, told us what kind of ratings bonus they were going to give us. And so on our way back to the airport to take them back, he wanted to hear some shit on a CD, so we played him some stuff on a CD. These two were cackling their asses off the whole way back to the airport. And so we dropped them off, and I said, Tony, I think we got our guys. I said, they've got Stern. They're used to putting up with a bunch of shit. It's Detroit. It's rough. I said, this is probably going to be the best thing for us right now. And we had a big powwow about it. And I said, we're going to have to move to Detroit, but we're going to have jobs, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty good job. So there you go. So we moved to Detroit. I mean, I think what Patrick, the guy from the Eagle, when we were meeting, I think what he asked me was, I think it was an interesting question because he said, he asked me about it, and then he goes, do you regret that? And so I'm trying to get a job, and so how do I answer that? My protocol during interviews is just to always be honest. I said, yeah, kind of. I said, I regret that I put them through that because, it freaked. I mean, that was morally very shitty thing to do. And I said, we were angry. We were young. We were stupid. Would I do something like that nowadays? I mean, of course not. I'm a completely different person. So I said, professionally, I think I do regret it because we could have corrected our wrongs and went on to do mornings on the Eagle. And for that reason, I do regret it. Here's what I think. I think if we had not, I think if Tony and I had been a little smarter and less bombastic, I think is the word, we would have gone on to do mornings, and hell, we'd fucking still probably be there today. And they probably never would have switched formats. If they had I will tell you this. If they had put us on and we got the message on growing up and not being so over the line, we would have raped people in the morning. Our ratings, we would have been untouchable. We would have gone on to be syndicated in other markets and the whole bit, because us two together, it's magic. It's nuclear energy in a bottle. Us, apart from each other, we have but it's something about when he and I got together that just was an explosion. It was a, I when I really think about it, I really miss it, and it's kind of sad because we, at one time we were just super, we're best friends. We went through everything together, and I've never met another guy that I've been even halfway as creative with. And that is something that is so rare. So there you go. That's the story of Britney. That is 100% accurate. That's, I'm not lying about any of it, especially that we got permission to do it. It was on Yahoo News. I posted that and nobody really commented on it. Maybe I'll put it in in one of the messages here, but it was on Yahoo News like a week ago. It was, I don't know, the 31 biggest pranks ever pulled or some shit like that. And it still has how long has it been? Today would be 23 years today. Wow.
Oh, bye-bye now.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Kramer Show Unleashed. No rules, no management, no bullshit. Real and raw talk. We'll be back soon. Until then, find Kramer on Facebook and Twitter @Kramer Radio.